And I know that, we've got people that watch from all over the country, and obviously we've got some amazing people here in Southern California. And we also have one amazing person in Northern California who's going to be leading our business planning clinic. Rick Jiha, he has done this for us for the last couple of years. One of the amazing things I love about Rick is that on top of being a super intelligent and well-spoken and knowledgeable individual, he's also just a huge giver. In the last 40 years of real estate, I know he looks like he's, just a day over 50, but in the last 40 years of real estate, he's managed to launch, several offices. He's owned up to 9 offices, over 1,000 agents in his career. On top of that, he's crushing his production goals. He's one of the few people I know that continues to have a highly successful real estate team. Again, I think the goal is 100 million this year. Is that right? 100 million in personal production with him and his team, as well as, just being an incredible leader in our organization. And somehow he manages to have one-on-one personal relationships with all the people in his world. And it's just always contributing to our lives. So I just want to thank you, Rick, for setting aside your time. He is also, I could go on and on, but he is a national coach and speaker, and has done that for 15 years. Still coaches with an independent coaching company, and he does it because, again, he just loves to pour into people. Well, the privilege and the gift that we have today is that Rick is going to be giving us 1 hour of his time, utilizing some of the highest level business planning tools. I hope all of you guys here have received your copy. If you haven't, just send me a DM, and then I'll make sure that you get a copy of that. And here we go. Let's get ready for 2022. Mr. Rick, I'm handing you the mic.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good to see you all. I do know a lot of you, and I'm excited to see your faces. Valerie, I want to compliment you on being, you and Marcus as being, oh, there's Johnny. People are starting to turn their camera on. That's awesome. And I love that Starbucks no longer is talking about Christmas. Even though I'm a big Christmas fan, they just call it, what are they calling it now? Red Cup season. So talk about a politically correct way to handle it, but I'm still going to say Merry Christmas to those of you that celebrate, and Merry whatever you celebrate to those of you who don't. So I'm excited about this. I'm super excited that there's several of you that just heard me do this in person recently, and you're back on for another one. So that really excites me too. The nice thing, if you have seen me talk about it before, I never do 2 of these the exact same way. I had somebody watch me do 3 of them in 1 week and said, Rick, you talked about something different every time. I go, well, that's the idea. It's not a canned class. So I'm going to share my screen with you and share the workbook. The one thing I don't like about sharing my screen is that it means I won't be able to see all of your faces and what's going on for you while it's on. But I do want to get busy on this. It's 10:07. We got to wrap up by 11. And I want you to feel free to interrupt. I love a participatory class. And what we're going to do on this amazing workbook, which is 29 pages long, is go through the mindset and the understanding of how to execute, fill out this workbook such that it does you a big service in 2022. Some of you have heard me say that the National Association of Realtors says that up to 88% of people who are given a business plan workbook still don't fill it out. And there's reasons for that. There's mindset issues and everything. And let me talk a little bit about that before we actually keep the workbook up on the screen. The number one issue with us looking at a business plan workbook and then going like this, here's my business plan workbook. I'm just going to go, I'm like looking at it and then I go, I'll get to it later. There's a reason for that. People want to avoid being faced by the reality of what they're capable of doing versus what they do. Do you get that? Like the reality of what you know you're capable of doing versus the reality of what you end up doing. And in that is something called, listen carefully, write this down, I'm not enough. Okay, so our issues come up with I'm not enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not handsome enough. I don't like my hair. I have big thighs. I don't sell as many houses as that guy over there. And there's a lot of comparisons, and that brings up ego. And when you're bringing up ego and comparisons, you are at the same time doing a I'm not enough. Okay. And that's why you want to really, really learn to live your life within the lane of the things you know you control versus what's outside of your lane is the things you don't control. You don't control how many homes other people sell. You don't control at all what the interest rates are, what the inventory is. You don't control a lot of the things that end up bugging you during the day. You mostly don't control what other people say to you or about you. Okay, I'm going to say that again. You do not control what other people say to you or about you. What you do control is your reaction to that, your response. All right, these are the things you control. So here's the main thing that you have to know about me and the universe. And the reason I say it's about me, it's about every single one of us. But I don't want you thinking for a moment that me being the one speaking today means I got it all figured out, because I don't. I'm battling with these things every single day, the same things we all battle with. None of us are better or worse than anyone else on this call. We're all just our own version of human beings doing the best we can do. All right. And that's the truth, really, is that in the moment, human beings are doing the best they know how to do in the moment, given the resources they believe they have available to them. Period. Everyone is. All right. You want to blame your parents for how you grew up? Well, guess what? Your parents were doing the best they knew how in the moment, given the resources that they believe they had available to them. That last part is so important. Given the resources they believe they had available to them. Do you know how many people believe that asking for help is a weakness? So when people say the resources they believe they had available to them, a lot of times they had tons more resources available to them than they were willing to reach out and ask for. So these are the most important sort of foundational beliefs that we have to figure out when we're going into filling out a business plan workbook. Now, I have been, the last 6 years of my 28 years of coaching have been with a company called Workman Success Systems. You'll see them on the workbook. The company is one of the top team training companies in the nation. We have, almost 1,000 clients, and we have, 80 coaches. And I've had the pleasure of being one of the top 6 coaches at the company for several years. And I don't coach near as much because I'd rather, as Rosie said, thank you, Rosie, for the compliment, but I'd rather do things like this for free, where I'm affecting the lives of the people that are in life and business with me. All right. They, most of the coaching clients they give me right now are $3,500 a month to talk to me for 2 hours. Now, I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, because it doesn't relate to most of us, but it means that people are paying $1,750 an hour to hear me tell them what would work better in their team. The reason I would rather talk to you for free than talk to them for $3,500 a month, which I don't get that money. I get a portion of, but certainly not the majority of it, is because the people that come on these calls voluntarily, not because they are paying to do it, are the ones who are most likely going to get the most out of it. Hence makes the biggest difference in your life. And those are the people I most want to talk to. Okay. I mean, Marcus is in a car. He could say, oh, I'm busy. I'll be driving that day. I can't go. But what's he doing? He's doing both, right? He's a believer in abundance. I can do this and I can do this at the same time. All right. There's an absolute difference in the people that are succeeding at the highest level in life and the people that aren't. And that only one difference has nothing to do with any of the crap people believe it has to do with, oh, you grew up in a different family, or you're white and you're black and you're Mexican and you're Latino. No, none of that. Do you know what the difference is between the biggest producers and the lowest producers in real estate? Is simply one thing, and that's the activities you focus on in a day, period, end of sentence. All right. One of my favorite stories is a guy who laid floors for a living. His name was Ed Monahan. In the 70s and 80s and 90s, we worked together in the real estate industry at the late 70s, just before I got my license. But he was laying linoleum You know, his hair's all messed up. He's sweating. He's got those big freaking knee pads on. And an agent walks in to show the home he's repairing while it's in disrepair. When I talked to him, I don't know, 6 years after he got his license, I said, what were you doing before? And how'd you get into real estate? He told me about knees down on that floor, laying linoleum, and that a realtor walked in with his clients. And this is what he said. He said, I couldn't believe, because I knew who that agent was that walked in, and I knew what kind of car he drove and what kind of house he lived in. And when I heard him talk to people, I said, if that dumbass can make that much money selling real estate, I know I can do just as good. Okay. He worked one more week in laying floors and went out and got his real estate license and went on to be very, very successful. And he was the kindest, humblest, simplest man. And yet he connected with people at a very high level and sold tons of houses as a result of it. So he used comparison as a way to boost him up, not bring him down. Do you get that? Like, think about the power of that. Now, as we start to look at this business plan workbook, and I'll probably zip through it, but I want you guys to feel free. Rosie is live streaming it and recording it so we can send it back out to others to look at, especially if you associate with a friend or somebody and you're thinking about talking to them about why don't we work together, whatever. This would be a great thing to send them. So I'm going to share my screen, pull up the business plan workbook, and let you see the table of contents. These first 5 things right here are the ones that mess with you the most: the strategic plan, the personal objectives, the core values, the mission statement, the SWOT analysis. A couple of them I'm going to spend a lot of time on. A couple of them I'm not going to spend very little. I'm going to spend very little time. But what I want you to think about here is, number 1, the strategic plan. In 1989, a man named Stephen Covey wrote a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, habit number 2 was begin with the end in mind. That's what a strategic plan is, ladies and gentlemen. It's beginning with the end in the mind. It's putting out a plan for what my life and my business are going to look like in the future. All right. Notice we're talking about both business and life, not one. We're not only talking about real estate. We're talking about what's going on in your life while you're doing this thing called selling real estate. So as you look at this, the strategic plan is going to ask you 9 questions. 6 of them are the same exact question. So let's just wrap those 6 questions. The first one is, what do I want to achieve in my business in the next 5 years? And then the second question is, what do I want to achieve in my life in the next 5 years? So this strategic plan, to go quickly, is 5 years, 1 year, and 6 months. It's called planning out ahead. But if you start with 5 years and you lay out your strategic plan, then you can move it forward in your mind to what's going to happen by 6 months from now or a year from now. So if I say by the end of 5 years, I want to be at 500,000 GCI a year. Well, that means by the end of 2022, you want to be at 100,000 GCI. So you start to, extrapolate, if you will, so that you end up with the right plan. But let's look at those questions. What do I want to achieve in my business in 5 years? Folks, this means that you have to think big, dream big, and set these, what I call big, hairy, audacious goals. Because I would rather personally set a humongous goal that makes me nervous, makes me sick to my stomach because I can't believe I said I would do that. And I would rather fall short from a big, hairy, audacious goal than fall short from a mediocre goal. Now, different people believe differently. They want to set a goal and they want to hit it. That's society. Society said if you hit a goal and if you set a goal and you miss it, you're a loser. Well, what if you just changed your belief that if I set a goal and I hit it, the goal was too low? That's a possibility, right? Again, up to you, not me. I'm not going to tell you how to believe. I'm going to suggest that thinking bigger might improve your ability to get where you really want to go in life, right? I had some pretty horrendously big goals for this year, and I didn't make a lot of them, but guess what? I still hit some places that I never, ever believed I could get because those goals were higher than that. But when I got to right here, I was like, oh, holy cow, this is amazing. I'm past where I could have dreamed I could have possibly been. So those are things important about looking out at your 5 years. You get to decide, do I set what my wife calls no shit, no kidding goals, or am I setting big, hairy, audacious goals? Totally up to you. Now, when you look at the questions, These are, what do I want to achieve in my business and then in my life? It's asking you to separate them out, but to also think big. You know, where will I be living? What's my life look like? What are my relationships like? This is a place to really talk about everything that isn't real estate sales. And then of course the 4 and 5, or what do I want to achieve in my life in 1 year and my business in 1 year? I'm sorry, 3 and 4. And then 5 and 6 are what do I achieve in 6 months for my business and my life? Now, here's the big part of this exercise is looking at questions 7, 8, and 9. How will I know I am making progress? How will I know? Well, you've got to benchmark things. You've got to set expectations, and you have to say, now, if my goal is to be at 500,000 by the end of 2022, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2026, then by the end of 2022, I should be at 100 grand. But what if at the end of 2022, I'm at 90 grand? Do I panic? No, probably can make some adjustments. But if at the end of 2022, I'm at 50 grand, and I should have, you know, based on my goal, I should have been at 100 grand. Well, then I really got to take a look at my activities, the results, what can I tweak? I mean, this is about benchmarking. And then also having not just accountability partners, but awareness partners and collaboration partners, people that are just as hungry to get where they want to go as you are to get where you want to go. But there cannot be a financial benefit to the accountability or the awareness partner or the collaboration partner, because then they get emotionally involved. You don't want that, right? And you also don't want to be a collaboration or accountability partner with somebody you live with or sleep with, because it ends up messing up the relationship based on that accountability. Number 8, what is the biggest pain right now in my business? What is the biggest pain? I'm going to tell you that for most of you, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that it is consistency or lead generation or nurturing or follow-up or conversion. There's a lot of different things that are consistent in the real estate industry about things that are a pain right now in my business. And then, of course, what's really going well for me in my business right now is to take a look at what's working and seeing if you're doing enough of it. Could you do more of it? Could you expand that? Could you make it help you sell more real estate? I'm going to show you some ways in this workbook a little further down where just tweaking a couple of things without selling any more houses gives you a raise. All right. Does that make sense? So look at that first one, strategic plan. Boom, we zipped right through it. But guess what? When you sit down alone, you're not going to want to do it hard enough or detailed enough. So I'm going to ask you to resist the temptation to be lazy about this, to resist the temptation to look at it and say, I've written enough. No, really write essays about this strategic plan. All right. You all have a lot going on in your lives. Think about what it is that's going on in your life, and what are the things that are going on in your life that are keeping you from making the money you know you're capable of making. There's stuff out there, right? There's all this stuff. Well, you know, like think about your family, think about your close friends, your relatives. How many of you have disjointed or dysfunctional relationships with people that are important in your life because you haven't been willing to stop and say, I'm sorry, totally, I'll take the bad on that. Let's just move on and love each other for the rest of our lives. Believe it or not, that kind of crap is also keeping you from performing at the level you're capable of performing. Now let's go on to personal objectives. Since I stepped my foot into that arena by saying what's going on in your lives, this is something no business plan workbook I've ever seen has had, which is understanding what's going on in your personal life while you're selling real estate. Right? Selling real estate alone is emotional enough. Like I have a team of 14 buyer's agents, and I can tell you that twice this week, we've had conversations about not letting the emotions of the business affect your ability to take good care of your client and be a professional real estate agent. What do I mean by that? I spent 30 minutes on the phone yesterday with one of my buyer's agents over a question that other people hadn't been able to answer about the HOA. And so what I realize about this person is she has a very high value on researching and delivering detailed information to her clients. But I stopped her in her tracks when I said, are you worrying about something that your client is not worried about? And it went completely silent when I asked her that. And she goes, oh my gosh, and I said, you're worrying about a rental restriction. I said, and you didn't even know what the word rental restriction meant as it related to an HOA. In fact, what you were looking for, you found that you could rent it out as long as you'd never rented it to anybody for less than 30 days. And I said, did you believe that that meant there was no rental restriction? She goes, yeah, who would rent a place for less than 30 days? I said, this is one of the biggest problems in the United States right now is something called STR, short-term rentals, people wanting to do Airbnbs and VRBOs. So when the HOA says you can't do any rental less than 30 days, it's telling you no STRs. I said, so all you have to do is ask your client, do you plan on VRBOing it or AirbnBing it? She goes, I already asked him that. And he said, no. I go, then there's no problem. There's nothing else to worry about. And it was almost like you could hear her go, right? So when you think about what your life and all of the things that keep you from being where you are, guess what pops in? Personal objectives. What is going to be different by the end of 2022 in my family? What would you like to orchestrate to be different? Maybe we're closer. Maybe we see each other more. I had a 1-hour discussion with my son last night about who in our humongous family is vaccinated and who's not. And he was basically saying that he felt that people that weren't vaccinated were telling him that they didn't love him enough to get vaccinated so he could come and see them. I said, Joey, with all due respect, son, that's just your perspective. I said, in their perspective, it might be that that is their belief and they don't want you to think they love you less just because they follow their beliefs. And it was a great discussion, but it really proved how people make up stories in their head and change facts by what they've decided to believe. And they've never even really found out what the other person believed. They just said, oh, you're not vaccinated. So these are really, really big issues in our time. So what's going on in your family? What's going on in your faith? What would you like to see different? What would you like to do for fun that you haven't done, or you want to do more of what you consider fun? And how will I change the relationships with my friends and be a better friend to everybody this year over last year, right? These are the good questions. Now, also the word fitness. How do I want to alter fitness? I just was on a phone call with one of the a top producer, like a $50 to $60 million a year producer, talking to me about how she's finally put fitness back in her daily schedule. And she wants, and then the last one that's not on here should be finances. You should be talking about, what do I want to do with the money I make after all of my real estate expenses are paid? Okay. Maybe I want to invest in something that reduces my tax liability, or maybe, you really got to start thinking about the money, the finances of the money that's left over after I've paid all my real estate bills. Okay. So those are the personal objectives. Please, guys, have fun with that, but also take some time on it. Really think about it. And if you get stuck, call somebody you know, love, and trust. I'm going to say that again. Call somebody you know, love, and trust and say, hey, from your perspective, what could be better for me and my family? What could be better for me and my faith and my friends and my fun and my fitness and my finances? Next one, let's move right on. I know I'm moving quickly. You guys have the ability to unmute and say, Rick, stop. That's fine, but I won't until you say that. Rosie, I just want to comment in front of everybody, your hair, your complexion, you look happy, you look beautiful today. So thank you for putting this call on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now the core values, here's something that when I started coaching for Workman Success Systems, even though I used to tell people about developing their unique selling proposition and their unique value proposition, I never got core values as much as I did when I started coaching for Workman Success Systems. If you're coaching a team and the team doesn't have a list of core values on the wall so that everybody that walks in, a customer, another realtor, an inspector, a member of the team, now when they come in and they see that on the wall, they instantly have what? An idea of who you are and what you represent. So when we tell teams to develop their core value, we then say, put them all on a sheet, frame them, put them in the conference room, put them in the bathroom, have one in your car, like everywhere. You should be able to be seeing those core values all the time and having them become an internal part of how you live, breathe, walk, and talk in and out of the real estate industry. All right. So core values, what could they be? They could be a core value could be punctuality. It could be community. It could be reputation. It could be, integrity in all things, putting the client's needs above all. Those are all considered core values. But you really want to sit down. This is one of my favorite collaboration exercises because I had paragraphs, literally, folks, paragraphs of core values. And I sat down with a bunch of people in 2017 and we narrowed it down to something that worked for us. And the missions, did I say core value? Yeah, I was talking about core values here, but we had so many of them, but we narrowed them down to about 13. I think we had 30 or 31, and we narrowed them down to 13. And then I'm going to move right on to the mission statement. just as important as core values. Those two things, folks, really represent the foundation of communicating to the world who you are, what you plan on doing, how you're going to make a difference in your business. And they are the things that free you up to make the most amount of money possible for you. So once you get your core values, let's say you hire someone on your team, like a buyer's agent or something, you got to get them to sign it. I commit to living my life and doing my business in alignment with these core values, right? So those are the things that we're talking about. And then, of course, the mission statement is just as important. And that's what I was just talking about when I was saying about paragraphs and paragraphs. We did have about 30 or 32 core values that we narrowed down to, I think, 13. But when we came to the mission statement, it was the same thing. We had paragraphs. And after we collaborated with all these different people in 2017, we were able to get it down to one sentence. And write it down if you want, memorize it, whatever. But mine is, the mission statement of the Rick G. Howe Real Estate Team is to improve the lives of all we serve. One sentence, improve the lives of all we serve. Now, guess what? With that, guys, I can go, why am I in business? To improve the lives of all we serve. What makes me unique? Improving the lives of all we serve. In other words, if these 5 questions that are on here can be answered with what your mission statement is, then you did it correctly. You did it where it will be effective for you and your business. They have this example down here on page 9 of the book. I want you to cross it out. Don't use the example. It sucks. What I would like you to do is to Google this. Google the words mission statements of major companies. Just do that. Or major mission statements of top companies, or mission statements of Fortune 500 companies, and they'll show you some examples so you can get your arms around making it something that makes sense and it delivers a message, a passionate message about who you are and what you plan on doing. All right, that's that. Now we're going to move on to SWOT analysis. This one is really cool, big deal, very big exercise for you all to do. How many of you, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand or yell it out, are only seeing the workbook because I have it up, not because you have a copy? I know Marcus isn't looking at it somewhere else because he's driving, but who else? Do you guys all have a copy in front of you? The majority of you? Okay. But the reason I asked that is this part right here is the instruction page for your SWOT analysis. And let me just see what the chat says. Okay. Norma Arguello, Rosie is asking for how to get a workbook. So, okay. So maybe you see here that it says you're going to do on a sheet that looks much like this. You're going to do your strengths and your weaknesses on the left side, top and bottom. And if you notice that, it says that those are internal. And it even gives you some questions to prompt you, because a lot of times you either lose track of what your weaknesses are, and more importantly, we often lose track of what our strengths are. And then you have some questions here to prompt that. But remember that strengths and weaknesses are internal. They are things that you personally control, and that weaknesses, opportunities and threats on the right are things that are external, meaning you don't control them. All right. What interesting trends are you aware of? Changes in social patterns, population, lifestyle changes, pandemic. Hello. So there's a lot to be said about opportunities and threats. What you're going to do is you're going to take a blank sheet like this and you're going to fill it out, but you're going to have to take some time to really think about it. And so what I ask you to do is to fill it out one day and take a day off, and then 2 days later come back and look at it again, and then think about what might have been different then. But I also want you to do this. Please write this down. You want to give away 5 of these blank ones to 5 people that you know, like, and trust, 2 in the industry and 3 not in the industry. 2 in the industry, 3 not in the industry, but they have to be people you know, like, and trust, and they know, like, and trust you. Okay? So, and then guess what? If that happens, you're going to get a bunch of answers from these different people. You will have 6 of them. You'll have yours and you'll have 5 from other people. It will take a while. Tell everybody you need them back in 48 hours. They won't give them to you in 48 hours, but tell everybody you need them back in 48 hours, and then expect to get them back in 5 to 6 days. But you got to hound them. You need these back because they'll help you see the blind spots that you don't see about yourself about your environment, about what are threats and opportunities in your business, and where you might be missing a chance to make a lot of money. That's the beauty of getting other people who see your blind spots to really take a look at this. Now, you're going to give them all these blank sheets, and then you're going to have this one. You're going to fill out this master list. Here's how you fill out the master list. You have the 6 of them, yours and everybody else's, out in front of you, and you're going to pick the words from each one that show up on all of them. All right? So you're going to have very few words here, because for this to be on the master list, it has to have shown up on all 6 of them. All right? But you also want to pay attention to the ones that didn't show up on all 6. I don't want you to ignore them, because if you respect and admire the person that gave you the list and they have one thing written down in a weakness that you didn't see written anywhere else, you might want to sit down and have a talk with them and say, hey, I noticed that you said that I suck at personal interaction. Can you tell me a little bit about how you're experiencing me in personal interaction, instead of getting all pissy and moaning and saying, what, I thought you liked me. This isn't about life. This is about making sure that you have a very strong idea of where other people see you and how they see you show up. It's as simple as that. All right. Then back down here, you have the strengths and opportunities pairings. Look at all the opportunities that were written on all 6, and look at your strengths and say, where can I combine those strengths and those opportunities such that I will make more money because of it, or I'll have a better life because of it? Think about that. And then, of course, the weaknesses. When you find out what your weaknesses are, and you have to decide, am I going to learn to make that a strength, or am I going to outsource it, or is it going to be a combination of both? This is really important. Too many people fly right past this. Somebody says, like for me, a bunch of my people told me I was impatient. So we had to say, okay, where am I mostly impatient? What do you see me? What am I usually doing when you see me impatient? And how can I learn to not show up as impatient to the people I know, love, and trust, my wife, my assistant? Those are the people that said I was impatient. Or are there things I can do that help me be more patient that I can have other people do that will keep me from being impatient, right? Lots to think about on this SWOT analysis, but it is such a huge part of the business planning workbook. The fact that you take a lot of time on this part is going to pay dividends for years to come. Because look, if I originally did my first SWOT analysis like this in 2017, and I sent it out to a bunch of people, and I haven't sent it out to those same people anymore, because most of those people are in my life and are saying, wow, Rick, you've really done this, you've really done that. But at least this part, you should probably do every year to get a check-in, right? It's like a checkup with the doctor. You're going to get a check-in. All right, let's move on from there. Do the income goal sheet. This is awesome. Now, what I'm going to do on here, let me just see if I can find it really quickly. The income goal spreadsheet.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one thing on the previous,
Yeah.
I think one of the things I love about this workbook is, most of the time you're kind of in your head and you're thinking, this is my goal, da, 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 da. You're thinking about 1 year. And as I was writing some things down, I realized, wow, like what would 5 years look like? Forcing you to kind of think forward, not just, how's it saying? We overestimate
what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in a career. Yeah.
Right. And that also gives, individuals a little bit more, for me, it just gives me a bigger picture, like, wow, I still have a lot of really crazy, incredible goals. And I do have the time to do it, and so I just love that part of it. And the second part is, in doing this SWOT analysis, how often are we asking for feedback? Because this is feedback, right, from other people. And I think it's important to, to receive the strengths very well, and also receive the weaknesses, very well, right? Yeah. Because if 4 or 5 people are looking at something and saying, hey, you're great at this, and 4 or 5 people say, hey, you know what, this is not so much. Yeah. One of the biggest growths that you might have in 2022 might be just kind of a self-awareness of this area that you were not aware of, right? Yeah, and
very well said. Very well said. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay, I lost track. So I want to tell you guys what I put just now into the chat group. Hold on, where is there we go. So this is an income goal spreadsheet. There's only one sheet. I want to quickly say a few things, but I want to remind you that I gave you the Google Doc or Excel spreadsheet version of this, so you can plug in some numbers and it'll do the math for you as opposed to you doing the math on here. So please capture that. Rosie, I definitely, is Megan on?
Yes.
Capture that and save that for, because you know, your organization is huge. You got a lot of people that took business planning clinic. This sheet, that spreadsheet, will take away all the math, doing the math yourself. It does it for you. But here's the thing that you want to learn from this. The first thing is it says notice on the third line, it says, what's your gross annually? Well, I might gross $1 million in commissions, right? But what am I actually taking home after I've paid all the buyer's agents, I've paid my assistant, I've paid my team leader, everybody's been paid, all the expenses are paid, what's left for me? And that's not left for me after taxes, but what's left for me before taxes. All right, so that's your net annually. So you really want to know those, but you're really going to have to research to know them. A lot of agents aren't paying attention to the money that's going out, me included for many years, not now, but certainly many years. Then you want to start paying attention to what's the average commission percentage to the detail on what you usually get when you represent a buyer and what you usually get when you represent a seller. All right, I'm going to give you an example. I did a lot of volume in listings this year, probably over 50 million just in listings. Okay, now look at this. If my average listing commission right now is 2.35, right? 2.35. If I just get my average listing commission up to 2.40, 0.05%, just to 2.4, I would have had a $180,000 raise in my pay this year without selling another home. 180,000. It's a big freaking deal, guys. So what if you said to yourself, oh, maybe I just got to learn to keep my commission better or stick to 2.5 as the bottom listing commission. Those are the things. And yeah, we'd say, oh, I would have lost that business. Great. Well, you do have to make intelligent financial decisions for yourself. But it's very important to know the difference between what your average commission is for listings, what your average commission is for buyers, and what is your average sale price for listings versus your average sale price for buyers. And even more than that, how many calls does it take me before I can get a listing appointment? All of those things are on this sheet. It's the numbers of the business, and it's vitally important. And you would be surprised how many great questions it asks you. Prospecting activities. What are your goals for the months and annually? It's got a separate listing goal and selling goal to buyers in your business. It's really, really a great sheet. And then in the chat, I have put the Google Doc so that you can use that to do the math for you. All right, the next thing quickly as we move along. Oh, look, somebody's filled them out for me. That was me. These are different ways. These are your 4 pillars of income. If I talk to my buddy Mike and I say, hey, Mike, how many houses do you want to sell next year? And he says, I want to do 24 deals next year. I go, okay, what are the 4 pillars that you're going to use to get those deals? And everybody is going to use different ones. This one happens to say open houses, sphere of influence, door knocking, internet leads. You really remember that most of us right now get most of our business from one major source. Almost everybody does. Whatever that major source is, it goes here on pillar number 1. And then as you perfect it, you want each of these pillars to be able to get you your entire goal. Could I do 24 deals just doing open houses? Yes. Could I do 24 deals just working with my sphere? Yes. Could I get 24 deals door knocking? Yes. Those are all legitimate questions, legitimate answers, but you have to decide which are the ones you'll commit effort to and commit time to, such that if I could do 24 deals on open houses alone and 24 deals alone on working my database, chances are I'm going to hit 24 or maybe more deals if I just work those 2 pretty hard. Imagine what it's like when you're working 4 of them. But remember, don't just do all 4 at once. Get really good at one, then get really good at the second one, and so on and so forth. That's your 4 pillars of income. The business marketing plan, guys, this is a big one. We've got a couple of really important things between now, the next 16 or 17 minutes. So don't tune out. The business marketing plan is what Rosie just talked about. People way overestimate what they can do in a year and way underestimate what they can do in their career. And this sheet is your career sheet, this business marketing plan. Start thinking, look at all the things that are on here, and it gives you little squares with blank lines next to them, so you can add things that you want to do that you're not currently doing, and then decide what am I adding in 2022 to my business? What am I going to add to 2023? I remember when I first saw this sheet, it said read 4 business books a year. Well, I used to always read 4 business books a year, but I haven't been lately because I'm kind of doing a lot of different things at one time. So I looked at that and said, okay, 2022, I'm definitely reading 4 business books. All right. And for me, business books are professional developments, personal development, stories, all kinds of things. Many, many years ago, I read a book called Who Moved My Cheese? Does anybody remember that book? So that book was written by Dr. Spencer Johnson. It's a really, really great book. And it is a very short parable or story that delivers a message. If you want to get into books like that are really helpful by delivering a story that has a message to it, you can read Patrick Lencioni, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Great book to read. It's done in a story about a company in Silicon Valley, Northern California. It's a fable, though. It's not a real story, but when you read it, you go, this could be any company around. But it really allows you to see about the 5 dysfunctions of a team. What I liked about the 5 dysfunctions of a team is it also gave you some real lessons about family life, not just real estate life. So really good stuff. So as you look at this, a lot of stuff: geographic farming, for sale by owner, expired, out-of-town agents, first-time home buyers, right? Look at how many people in the state of California are moving to Texas, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and Oregon, all of those states, right? So have you ever, like this out-of-town agents, have you ever just picked up the phone and called an Idaho agent or a Utah agent, right? Said, hey, I saw your name in workplace or something and wanted to get to know you. I don't have a referral source up in Idaho, wondering if you have a referral source in Orange County. And then you start chatting and you exchange information, you get to know them, you become friends, you see them at other events. But guess what? Another referral source. And how many of those could you do? You could do a lot, right? You could do a lot. So just lots of great ideas here on this. Let's move to the goal achievement system. One of my favorite lessons in here. Not very detailed, not very hard to do, a little timely to do it, but not hard, just uncomfortable. Remember that, just uncomfortable. Look at this. Think about all the goals you're going to write down, right? You're going to write down goals about your health, your physical well-being, your family, your friends. You remember the personal objectives, your fitness. Think about every goal. Here's the reason why this part is one of the most important parts in the booklet. If you guys don't mind, I just have to take a quick sip of water. So hold on. Sorry about that. Okay. Imagine, like, I had a goal at one point in my life to do 100 push-ups in 5 minutes or less, and I did it. It took me several years to get worked up to that. And then about that time, I quit doing push-ups. And now, again, here I am. I can't do 100 push-ups in 5 minutes or less. But I don't want to go to the same old goal. So I said, let's do 200 push-ups in 5 minutes or less. And I'm a long way away. Excuse me. But if you think about this, if you took every single goal you had, your real estate goals, your family goals, your wealth and health goals, and how much you weigh and how much body fat, all those, and you asked yourself, if you wrote down the goal and you said, why is this goal important to me? And there's a reason for asking these questions, because a lot of times we take on goals for ourselves that we are not truly committed to, but we're doing it because it either sounds good or somebody else thought you should do it, or all of these invalid reasons. Look, what they allow us to do is figure out, this little exercise allows us to figure out, are we really committed to that goal or not? So if you look at the why of the goal, right? If you look at the why, say, why is this goal important? If you're truly answering this question, then you're going to know if you're really committed to doing this goal. And imagine if you had one sheet that said this goal you're going to do. Imagine just crumbling up the sheet and say, forget it. I'm not even thinking about that goal. It's not important to me. That is better for your life than having a bunch of goals set down that you committed to that you really don't have any commitment to, right? That you don't, it's not really that big in your beliefs. Well, I know when my push-ups are big in my belief, I never go to bed without doing push-ups, ever. Last night, it was 11:15. I go, shit, I hadn't done any I hadn't done any push-ups yet. And now I'm trying to get, right now I'm at typically doing 70 a day, but it was late last night. I said, I'm just going to do 50 and go to bed. But I never end a day without getting my push-ups done, period. Never. Even if it's one, but I can't ever imagine myself getting all the way down on my hands and knees and, getting ready to do a push-up and doing one. I think the least I've done recently before I went to bed is 30. Okay. So there's at least getting some done, but why is it important to me? It's good for my health. It makes me feel better. I feel better about my life when I'm doing them. What have my excuses for failure been? Lack of commitment to me and my health and my long-term well-being. Guess what? I'm 64. Guess what happens with people? They get bone diseases and stuff like that. Well, that's why, in addition to push-ups, I'm doing lunges and squats before I go to bed so that my legs stay strong, right? All right. What have been my excuses for failure up till now? As I'm saying, just the lack of commitment to my well-being. And then I think about being married to a younger wife and I want to live longer. Those have been. So my resolve, then what's my resolve? My resolve going forward is to never miss a day without doing push-ups and to continue to add 5 push-ups every month to the repertoire. So I'm doing 70 in December. In January, I'd be doing 75 a day, right? All of those things. Next goal, maybe I want to take 100 listings in a year. Well, why is that important? Because I know if I take 100 listings, I become more of one of the idols in the real estate business in my area. So more and more people will call me. My income will be better if I take 100 listings. I'll feel better about myself because I've never done that. What are my excuses for failure? I've not been committed to the lead generation it takes to get to 100 listings. And what is my resolve going forward? If you ask yourself those questions on every one, you're going to wear yourself out, first of all, and you're going to know for sure, am I committed to this goal or not? Okay. I want you to spend some time on one thing. Am I making decisions based on my ego or my joy? Right. And a lot of times fulfilling your ego is your joy, but you have to realize, is that something like I owned 9 Keller Williams Realty offices, 9 of them. And eventually I lost everything as a result of owning them. And I look back and I go, it's such an ego thing, right? I didn't need to open offices. I could have just sold more homes. I was adding work to my plate. I was adding responsibility, liability, cost. If I would have just stayed in touch with really what I want to do in my life, well, I always wanted to retire and live on a beach. Well, guess what? I was more focused on, I'm the hot shot. I have 9 KW offices. I speak all over the US. That's all fun and everything for a while until it's not. So think about your goals, think about which ones you're doing for ego and which ones you're doing for joy. This is really a big deal. Then you have the same questions for all of your personal objectives: family, faith, fun, friends, fitness. Why are those your goals for those areas of your life? And what have been your excuses for failure? So, all right. All right. Let's see. And then look at this. Then you have something called a sprint sheet. This is for my 100 listings, right? A sprint sheet is you have one sheet, notice one whole sheet of paper for every goal. So my 100 push-ups in my 200 push-ups in 5 minutes, I'm going to have a sprint sheet that says all of the things I need to do to build up to 200 push-ups in 5 minutes or less. Got it? So then if I say 100 listings, I have this sheet right here. That's all the different things I have to do to get to 100 listings. You want one sheet for every single goal. It doesn't matter how many items are on the line, but don't fool yourself. Think of all the things you will have to do, including the background stuff. Oh, I just got to lead generate. No, you don't. You got to lead generate. You got to follow up. You got to have a system of delivering stuff to their home so that they know you're thinking about them, to send them the comps. Maybe you're going to have a market update sent to them, a market snapshot update sent to them once a month, or all of these different things have to get on that, what they call sprint. You see it right here, the word sprint, which are the activities you must do to reach that goal. Now, the reason I say that is this, because there's a bunch of those blank sprint sheet pages. And I want you to think about this for a minute, is if I'm filling out all these sheets, think about this. If I set a big, hairy, audacious and I don't hit it, am I a loser? No, you are not. But if I set out this sprint sheet of all these activities that I say I'm going to do to get that goal, and at the end of the year, I go, I've done one of those activities, well, then I'm just a plain liar, right? I'm just lying to myself about wanting the goal, when if I only did one of the activities on those pages, the fact is I really didn't want that goal. And they go, well, I was too busy, right? And you say, no, things that are important to you are the things you make time for, right? Think about how many of you never miss brushing your teeth. If you do miss it, I don't want to know about it, but think about all you that never miss it, right? Well, you seem to make time for brushing your teeth when brushing your teeth. I know people stop in the middle of the day, they got in the car, they got a little kit, they take it out, they brush their teeth. I'm like, I can't do that. I do it in the morning after I wake up and right before bed. That's it. Like, I'm not carrying them around. I have gum for that. But the problem, what I'm saying is there's people who are super committed to that. Well, you make the time to do it. You make the time to do it. So as you look at that sheet, it's important for you to, let me see, I think that's this one right here, that you look at all those sprint sheets. Each one of these is for each of the goals. So they printed up a lot. And then of course, the last page of the workbook is this one, the cash flow budget worksheet. These are not enough for me, guys. I have more than this in terms of when I look at my accountant and the different categories she has for me in selling real estate. Like, we have a category called broker tours. All right. Reason is because I always buy food for my broker tours, and I have shopping bills, and I have like, sometimes I'll bring some plants or flowers or, all that stuff. So one whole division just on broker tours. For the years I'm taking a lot of listings, that's a lot. So I want you to be thinking about having a wonderful, because when the market is good and strong, realtors are writing checks left and right and not really paying attention to profitability. It really requires somebody's help to look at your numbers, look at everything you're spending, and tell you, are you running a profitable business or not? And yes, I know there's some of you out there that are super frugal, super careful, but there's just as many of you, if not more, that are not that careful, that are spending money, believing you have the money to spend and you don't. And the main rule that I've been listening to from the owner of the coaching company I work for, and Gary Keller from Keller Williams Realty, and Glenn Sanford, all these major people, they all say lead with revenue. And what lead with revenue means simply is this: don't spend money on your real estate business that you didn't make in your real estate business. Okay, keep it separate, folks. Like, I know so many men, and I know I'm not supposed to be talking about gender, but in this case, men that I've known in the past that have gone to get money from their significant other or their family pile of money to do something big in real estate, like send out postcards or do a big marketing campaign. It's not how it works. There's plenty of ways to make some money for free: door knocking, cold calling, talking to your database, whatever. And then once you've made that money, segregate part of it, separate it, and say, this is for marketing, this is for projects. Then you're only using money that you made in it. All right, that's the entire workbook. I want to stop for a minute and say thank you guys very much for joining us. But before we jump off, I'd love for you to just take a moment. I want to hear about an aha, a thought, a comment, or a question. Aha, thought, comment, or question really quickly. We've got 2 or 3 minutes left, so go for it. Come on, don't be shy.
I think you guys might be muted. I'm not sure if we can unmute you, but you can raise your hand and we can unmute you. Down at the bottom of your screen, there's a little happy face with a little reaction, and you could just raise your hand. There we go. Marcus, you already figured it out. Let's unmute you. Megan, you got him? There we go.
I think they can unmute themselves too. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the feedback about getting those 4 quadrants where you see your strengths and you see your weaknesses, and where other people that know you can fill out. I'm excited on that, to get a real a big picture of where my blind spots are, because I think that the more I can avoid blind spots or get rid of them, or just be aware of where I can not hit my goals, I think that's going to be crucial. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Marcus, for saying that. Can I ask you who might be one person outside of the industry you're going to give it to?
Yes. My cousin, who's a social worker. He's very, very honest and very, he's got a good head on him, and I trust his observation.
Nice. I already love how much thought you put into it. That's incredible. Thank you so much, Marcus, for commenting. Who else would like to go?
We have someone in the comments, Sabrina, she said, my aha was, is it ego or is it your goal? That was a good one for me too. Thank you,
Okay, good.
Sabrina.
Good job, Sabrina. Good to see you again, by the way.
And then
All
we
right.
have the birthday girl, Miss Valerie. Happy, beautiful birthday. What you got for us, lady?
You have to unmute yourself, Valerie. There you go.
Valerie, unmute yourself.
There you go. Hi,
Yeah.
thank
Hi.
you.
You're welcome. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. It is my birthday. I think the pillars, I really like the pillars because, you know, you can see exactly rather than, because I think right now for me, I have money kind of going all over the place, you know, because I'm like focused on just my marketing. And so I don't know, I really appreciated that.
You're welcome. And thank you for being on. It speaks a lot about your commitment to yourself. Who's next? Okay.
Oh, Edwin. Edwin, let's go. Raise your hand. Unmute yourself.
Hey Rosie, hey Rick, how are you guys doing?
Good, Edwin. How about yourself, buddy?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can. Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to thank you for the class, but also the aha moment for me and the friendly reminder that life sometimes gets in the way, whether it's
Yeah.
you know family. You don't realize that sometimes those bits and pieces do take away from your success. So just kind of having you reiterate that just kind of had me take a moment and take a breath. And it's like, sometimes you do need to do a healthy evaluation of the relationships you have and what impact it has on your success. Because sometimes, you know, when you need to be centered and focused and just really, you know, like taking the time to write out your goals, you really don't have the time or the patience for anything to take away from that valuable time that you need to do to focus on you. So I just wanted to thank you for that so much.
You're welcome, Edwin. And if I can share a quick story with you, I had a family issue going on from night before last into yesterday. And on Wednesdays, I play basketball, full court basketball with people from 18 years old to 70 years old all at one time. And I like running up and down the court. Like I just got a new hip last year and it's a big deal to me. And I'm pretty fast for a 64-year-old. I out sprint a lot of the 30-year-olds. And I drive there between 4:30 a.m. and 5 a.m. It's about a 30-minute drive. And it was on my mind, and I was trying to put on Christmas music to take my mind off the issue because there was no more I could do about it. I had done what I could do. And 4 of the 11 guys playing yesterday, when I got ready to leave, said, "You didn't seem like yourself today, Rick. Bring your A game on Friday." And 4 people out of 11, and I thought I was faking it pretty well, right? It does affect your concentration on what matters during the day when you can't get that out of your mind. So you got to either decide it's out of my control, I'm going to be the amazing me, or what have I not contributed to make it such that I can be clear of it in my mind. So good for you. That's a big deal, Edwin. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, the work-life balance was a friendly reminder that, you know, sometimes I'm the type of individual that's always about work, but having that balance is just, it's mental health. It's just every kind of health you can think of. So thank you.
You're certainly welcome. All right. I've got time for one more. Rosie, you're on mute. Are you?
I said, I think we're going to have to wrap it up. It's 11:02, and
Okay,
I'm
good.
respectful of anyone's time. Norma has her hand up, so I don't want to put her hand down. Go ahead, Norma, really quickly. Unmute yourself.
Okay, there it is. Hi.
Hi, Norma.
You know, a big aha that I had was kind of like, why do I want to make $1 million? Like, what's that going to do for me? Like, why is that important? You know, it really, when I heard that, I knew that I had to take that and kind of apply it to each one of my goals, because it kind of felt like some of them might be the ego, you know what I mean? Like when you talked about all of those offices. And so I like that. I didn't get too deep into it, but I knew when I heard that I had to kind of have a reality check with my goals and say, why do you want this? What is it going to do for you? And do you really want or need it? Or is it the ego? And I want to let go of everything that's the ego, because it's just, it's heavy. It's too heavy to carry that. And one thing that I've been doing the last couple months is really prioritizing family and setting boundaries with the work and family, because I was always sacrificing the family to be there for the work. And then I was like, well, what's the point? Because I'm working for the family, but I'm never with the family, right? So I kind of, again, I was like, what's ego and what's really a healthy goal.
Joy-based, yeah, joy-based, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, thank you.
No, thank you, Norma, for being honest and open, because declaring it out loud is one of the things we have to do. Even if there's no one else listening, declaring it out loud is where reality hits. So, yeah, it's kind of like what Edwin said about taking a deep breath and realizing that, yeah, there's some stuff I got to get cleaned up, right? So same thing.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for being here. It is being streamed on Facebook. You can always go back and just kind of like, catch the part that you missed, or if you want to hear it one more time. Rick, thank you. I was telling everybody moments before we started, I said, I'm going to go because anytime he does any kind of presentation, there's so much value. There's always something different that I hear, and always just amazing takeaway. This is definitely your gift. And thank you for sharing your gift with us.
Thank you.
And very much looking forward to doing 2022, with you and with the rest of the team.
Ditto. Merry Christmas, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone.